Wolfpack, can you hear me, Wolfpack? Are you there, Wolfpack? Let me see in the chat, Wolfpack. Are you there? Good, good. Welcome back to the Moonlight Brew with your host, Katagiri Jinro, the resident werewolf VTuber, and as you can tell, I have a new outfit today because we are doing a just chatting stream, so this is actually my casual outfit. It has some references to anime as well as our references. Let's see if some of you in the chat can spot some of the nuances with this jacket here. And I think some of you, if you're a big fan of a particular anime, you'll notice a throwback of some sort. I'll let you draw the conclusions yourself. So welcome, welcome, good morning, good morning. How are all my little wolfies doing on this Saturday? I know that it's a different day than normally what I do for just chatting, but as I mentioned in the beginning of the week, because Martin Luther King Jr. Day, we observed that. We started our week on a Tuesday, and I'm not going to be able to record enough videos to make the Sunday date that I normally like to do. So what we're doing for this week is we're having our just chatting on Saturday as opposed to our Sunday normal time that we do. So I have a lot of topics I want to discuss today. We're probably going to play even a little bit of a game because I want to do a follow-up review to something I already had critiqued. But we're going to be talking about the recent Pokemon DLC that came out, as well as the epilogue that just came out recently. Something else that I would like to talk about is the brand new Godzilla trailer and a couple of leaks that have come out that I think it's enough time has gone by where it's okay to kind of show some of the toy line off, because a lot of the commercials have even spilled over to the television. But when we get to the Godzilla part, if you don't want to be spoiled, I will put up like a warning for you that this may contain spoilers. Then from there, we are going to discuss a very hot topic on this channel, that being Puppet Master of the Game, because they did finally drop the Demonic Toys update, and I will probably give a bit of a live review on that. But let's start with the big type of stuff, Pokemon. So as most of you know, I picked up Pokemon DLC, the Hidden Treasures of Area 0, around Christmas time. So I've been playing the game on and off again for quite a while. I wasn't a big fan of the base game. I did review about 2 weeks ago the first part of the DLC, which was the Kitakami region, which is the Teal Mask. I said I was very underwhelmed with how it performed in that particular area, but one of the things that I was hoping to do was that when I got to part 2, it would get a little bit better. Like I said, the story was kind of underwhelming. The legendary was kind of cool. The loyal free was kind of a weird type of character. Monsters, Pokemon, whatever you want to call them. They were kind of odd. Overall, I wasn't a big fan necessarily of the Teal Mask, but I did kind of respect what it was trying to go with in regards to Kieran's storyline, as well as, man, what's her name now? Carmine. So it was interesting to say the very least. Part 2, I played through over this past weekend that passed, and I had kind of very different thoughts about the DLC. I think the second part of the DLC is definitely the stronger of the two. It's very, very strong. I do like the introduction, the Blueberry Academy, which is where Carmine and Kiki go to school. It's kind of cool how it starts, where the director particularly wants you to go over there and access for you specifically at your school, but with the principal director, aka what was his name again? Clavel, aka Clyde, for some of the people who remember as Clyde. Kind of misses Pompadour, to be honest. So what ends up happening is you go through the transfer process, you go to Blueberry Academy, and when you're at Blueberry Academy, one of the first things you're greeted to is that you're in this new terraformed biome thing. So there's 4 different biomes. It's like a Terra Dome, whatever you want to call it, and it's been completely terraformed to have wild Pokemon in it. So there's the Savannah, where you can pretty much catch not really necessarily fire-type Pokemon, but Pokemon that you would normally find in Savannah-like regions. Then you have the Polar region, which has a lot of ice types and some metal types, which is a bit odd. Then there's this rocky, mountainous area called the Canyon, which obviously, if it's mountainous and rocky, you're going to find a lot of rock-type, steel-type, and electric-type Pokemon there. And then the last one is a Coral area. Now, the coral area in particular is interesting, Wolfies, because there's a lot of nice scenery there. I think of the 4 biomes, this is probably one of the best biomes that you can actually kind of mess around with. There's a lot of water types, there's a lot of tropical Pokemon, there's some ice Pokemon there for inexplicable reasons, particularly with the crab brawler. So it's quite interesting, Wolfies, quite interesting indeed what ends up happening there. So in these biomes, you go around catching Pokemon, but that's not the main point of the DLC. The main point of the DLC is that you get introduced to basically the Elite Four of Blueberry Academy. Now, the Elite Four of Blueberry Academy are not like the Elite Four in other Pokemon games or the Elite Four like in the base game of this game. They are basically a club of people that have the school club of the Blueberry Academy. So they're basically the Elite Four of their club. But recently, they've run into some problems because, believe it or not, our best bud from the first part of this DLC, that being Kieran, has apparently taken an about face and became like a bit of a school bully and it's got a mean streak now. So basically, he beat the highest member of the Elite Four and became the champion. So one of the champions by the name of Dryden, who is obviously a dragon type user, kind of befriends you and wants you to take on the Elite Four Blueberry Academy Challenge to knock some sense into Kieran. So you go around the 4 biomes doing basically a trial before you can fight the gym leader. All of these trials kind of remind me of Pokemon Sun and Moon with the trials of the Alolan trials, which I wasn't really that big of a fan of. So seeing them come back kind of made me sigh quite a bit. I know there was a trial or two obviously in the base game, but I really don't like Pokemon trials just to fight gym leaders or Elite Four members. It feels like they're just making you do chores, and the majority of the time when you have to do chores, it is not fun to do chores. So you go for these mini objectives. Most of them are easy, except for maybe the sandwich one, and then you basically fight the Elite Four members. Now, each Elite Four member has, obviously, like in previous Elite Four games, has their types that they use. So Dryden uses the dragon types. You have the other character that uses the fairy types. One of them uses like steel types, and the last one uses fire types. Now, what sets these battles apart from the base game's Elite Four, as well as the base game's way of training battles go on, is the fact that everything in the Blueberry Academy is done, Wolfies, with double battles. So basically the official VGC format of Pokemon that you see in the major Pokemon tournament. So every gym battle that you have in the Blueberry Academy is double battles, which I think, for the most part, is pretty cool, because if you're a VGC player like I am, you like to be able to do double battles as opposed to single battles, which more people are more familiar with if you play kind of like Battle Spot, 3 versus 3, or Smogged rules. So it's kind of cool that they actually have the game, at least the very, very end game, more appropriately fitted to how it actually is in official Pokemon tournaments. So I like that aspect of it. As for the gym battles themselves, they are pretty challenging doubles battles. Most of the trainers have their Pokemon at the very least level 78 or a little below that. So you do get, Wolfies, quite a bit of a run for your money when you are, in fact, playing through these gym battles. In fact, once or twice, some of my level 100 Pokemon did, in fact, get knocked out because they were taken by surprise by some of the tactics that the Elite Four in Blueberry Academy do. In fact, I'd say they were much harder than the original Elite Four in the base game, for all intents and purposes. Now, something else that happens is once you do beat the Elite Four, you get to challenge Kieran. And when you beat Kieran, you basically kind of knock him sort of back into his senses. But the story doesn't end there, as immediately you're called into the principal's office with still the aftermath of the Elite Four champion of a different school and how that's going to affect not only the club, but the school rules of everything that's going on. So it's quite an interesting thing, but that's put on hold. You get called to the principal's office. There you run into the original Elite Four members, well, at least 2 of them, that being La Primavera, the very first champion of the Elite Four, as well as one of her members of Elite Four. I forget her name. She was the green-haired chick. I think her name was Rika. So they let you know that one of the professors who was in the Teal Mask DLC that returns for this one had gotten her request to visit the Area Zero approved. And they then decide in storyline purposes that they want you to go and accompany her along with Carmine, as well as Kieran and Drayden. Drayden decides that he is not interested in doing that because it's too much of a travel for him, and he's a very lazy-ish type of character. So that's kind of cool and to be expected of him. He was actually one of my favorite characters in the DLC. So you end up going with, you know, Carmine, the professor, who I forget her name because she was that forgettable of a character, Kiki, and yourself back to Area Zero. But before you go to Area Zero, you have a conversation with La Primavera, and she gives you the Indigo Disc, which ironically is the name of part 2 of this DLC, the Indigo Disc. And she says that it's been passed down from generations to generations, and she feels like maybe you'll be able to use it for something. So you go back to Area Zero. It looks exactly the same as it did last time, and the group decides that maybe you should go back to the lab where you had your adventure where, you know, you beat the professor, depending on which game it was. For me, it was Sonata, and they want you to go back there and see if you can get into the lab. So you go to the lab, and the lab won't open, and then suddenly the Indigo Disc starts reacting, and you put it in, and you begin the storyline DLC for that part of the game. And in that part of the game, Kieran is still kind of on the fence with his bad attitude because he wants to do anything to beat you, and he's determined to catch the legendary Pokemon. So you go through the very lower depths of Area Zero, and this part I was kind of bummed out by because there aren't actually any real Pokemon that you can catch here that you haven't already caught in the base game. But you do fight some Pokemon that have a new terrestrialized or terrestrialized, I forgot how you say that, typing. It's called the Stellar type. And Stellar type basically means that the Pokemon, when it is terrestrialized, is basically every type in the game. So what it does in terms of competitive battling is any move that you use once by terrestrialized is hitting for super effective damage regardless of the fact, like, let's say I had a Charizard and the Charizard is Stellar type and I hit with, like, I don't know, Hurricane, we'll use for example. Hurricane will become super effective if the Pokemon is super effective to that. Or if I decide that I want to use Dragon Pulse, it's super effective against things that are super effective to that attack. So it's pretty cool. It's an interesting dynamic. I'm curious to know whether that is actually allowed legally in VGC, because I haven't been following up on VGC rules, but it opens up the door for a lot of interesting strategies in VGC where you don't have to really necessarily rely on the various different Terra types. Although I still say there's some benefits to being a Terra type, because if I'm not mistaken, Stellar types count kind of like as normal types, and if you get hit by like a super effective attack, which would be fighting, I think it downs you, but I'm not 100% sure on that because I haven't really had time to really experiment too much. So anyway, getting back to it, you fight these Pokemon that are Stellar types. Each time you beat one, it opens up another area of the very lowest part of the Area Zero. And eventually you're going to make your way all the way down to where you run into the legendary Pokemon, and Kieran decides that he's, for all intents and purposes, going to catch you with a Master Ball. And things go sour, and eventually you have to save the day, and you obtain the Pokemon. And then from there, you just basically go back to Blueberry Academy and try to build up not only the club by investing a lot of BP, which you get through doing BBQs, aka Blueberry, I forgot what it's called, Blueberry Board Quest, if I'm not mistaken. And basically what you do is, as you improve your clubhouse, which is the clubhouse where the Elite Four hang out, as well as you and the rest of the people who are members of the club, you get new things like different type of ball throwing animations, you know, music jukebox. There's a item printer where if you put certain things into it, you get some pretty good items. And on top of that, something that's kind of interesting, which I think is supposed to be the battle facility replacement, is the fact that you can invite people to your clubhouse that are like the original gym leaders from the game, as well as a couple of characters that you reunite with in the epilogue, which I'll talk about in a minute. I haven't had too much time to play around with that particular setting. I did invite 2 characters, and they had some specific conversations, and you get to battle them, and they have different Pokemon on their team, which I think are cool. And It's kind of like if you were playing Battle Spot against them, but they're not very good teams. They're pretty much basic story teams, but every time you beat them, they kind of give you something. Sometimes they'll give you like a phone case. Sometimes they'll give you a very rare item that you normally would have to spend BP on to get. And even when you beat like some of the Elite Four members, like Drayden, for example, he gives you his jump suit so you can look very similar to him, which is probably the best looking attire that you can get in the game for a jumpsuit / track suit. So there's that, Wolfies. And then from there, what happens is you're just kind of building up this Pokemon area, which is good and all in the beginning. But then from there, it kind of goes a little bit kind of like into areas of tedium, yet again, Wolfies. Because from there, what ends up happening is you're just basically going on BBQ quest, which you get 20 BQ or 40 or sometimes 120, depending on the level of quest per run. And it takes a while to grind a lot of BQ, or BBQ, excuse me, points to be able to get enough BP to do certain things. Like, if you use 3,000 BP on every different biome, you have the ability to catch starters from various different games. So you can actually catch all the starters from all the Pokemon games in all the biomes when you spend 3,000 each per biome, which I think is kind of cool, and it's kind of nice because these starters aren't shiny locked. So you can catch easily if you do like wild outbreaks and you have the shiny charm and you know how to do, you know, shiny farming. You could potentially catch some shiny starters in the wild. They won't have the best IVs, but it's an easy way to get them if you don't have, I don't know, access to the internet per se, and you can't trade for some of that stuff on the GTS. So it's nice to have it, but 3,000 BP is quite a lot to grind up. In fact, when I was playing and just doing one of the biomes, which I did the coastal region first because that's the one that was recommended to me, and believe it or not, that's not the region I should have been investing in because I have those starters anyway. It was kind of annoying, but I wanted to pull a region, but it took a long time. It took me about 6 to 7 hours of grinding by myself just to be able to unlock that biome, doing, you know, a lot of quests and doing some other things and catching Pokemon I needed for the dex anyway. Is it a bad endgame system? No, because most of that time you're going to do these stuff anyway in the game, because if you're trying to finish your decks and you're trying to like shiny hunt and you're trying to just grind BP to get certain things unlocked, along the way it kind of pays off. On top of not only doing the BBQ quest, there's something, a side character called Snacksworth, and he's kind of tied to the BBQ quest as well. Snacksworth will give you a special snack which you can use to catch various legendaries in the game. So every time you complete 10 BBQ quest, you get one snack where you can catch a legendary. And they're good legendaries, and depending on the version of the game, depends on what type of legendaries you have. So you have opportunity to catch different legendaries that are available to get in this dex. And I think it's kind of cool. Scarlet gives you a lot of stuff like Groudon from what I've seen. Latios, which I think was surprising because I would have expected Latios in this one because of Scarlet. You also can catch the legendary bird trio from the original game, the legendary dog trio, Kyurem I've seen, and Reshiram from my game. So it's kind of nice to be able to catch extra legendary Pokemons because maybe you don't want to transfer over Pokemon from previous games because you don't want to lose them, or you prefer to have them in Sword and Shield like I do, because I don't really see a need to transfer my legendary Pokemon over to a game where there's no Battle Tower, or I could just keep them and practice in Battle Tower in older generation games. So it's kind of nice to be able to get some new sets of fresh legendaries that I can mess around with and try in that game. And it adds to the replay value of the quests that you have to do. And on top of that, it gives you something to kind of a reason to grind these BBQ quests as much as you can. Now you can kind of circumvent some of the BBQ quests and the snacks by doing Union Play. But as I mentioned before, I don't play any of my Nintendo Switch games online anymore, simply for the fact that my internet particularly doesn't work well with my Nintendo Switch for whatever reason. We've always kind of had some issues in the last couple of years with it. So I decided I wasn't going to renew my Pokemon, not my Pokemon, but my Nintendo Switch online account because it's just too many issues and it wouldn't allow me to play my game via a firewall, and I don't want the firewall down for the internet. Because it's various different issues, security issues too on top of that. So I opted not to renew it until like I had a different ISP. So I don't have the access to doing the Union Room, which kind of sucks because then it takes a lot longer to grind these quests out. And I heard, I don't know if this is any truth to it because I haven't gotten that far, but like the last 4 legendary Pokemon might be locked to Union room quest only. And if that's the case, that really sucks, because then they're trying to force you to not only play the game online, but use the Nintendo Switch online service and pay for it for the year. Which kind of sucks, because it's like, if I can't use it, where am I going to pay for it? And it locks legendaries that in other games weren't locked to the game. But overall, I thought the second part, the Indigo Disc part of the Hidden Treasures of Area Zero, was a much stronger DLC showing. I think that made up for the first part of the DLC. There's a lot to do. I was very upset, though, that there is still no battle tower in the game, because I feel like that helps not only practice for VGC, but Battle Spot singles games. But on top of that, it also, it just helps with single player, offline playability, replayability. Like, I go back to older Pokemon games, and I always play the battle towers of them because it's fun. I get to practice, I get to, you know, spend time. Not everybody wants to just play online battles in Pokemon 24/7. I did it during the Sword and Shield era, and, you know, it's fun for a while, but after a while, when you're seeing people using, like, hacked, shiny, legendary Pokemon on, like, casual ranking or even in the rank mode, it wears on you, because you know that people just kind of bypassed and didn't actually shiny hunt for something, like shiny legendaries that you can't get in these games, and they're coming from Earthings. You know, obviously they're hacked a lot of the time. So, you know, it runs stale, and sometimes you just want to practice with the computer. You just, like, let's say you're taking your Switch on the go, and you're on the train for a long thing, and there's no, like, internet on the train station or a long bus ride on an air flight. Maybe you just want to play some, you know, battle facility like Pokemon, and you can't do that in really Scarlet and Violet. We have, you know, the Blueberry Academy Clubhouse, where you can get, like, 4 double battles in with people that you know what their teams are, and you can invite, like, our gym leaders to rebattle them, but it's not the same as those randomized battles that you get in the battle facility, like in Sword and Shield. And, you know, at some point, when you do max out everything with the BP, what's really the point? Then all you have to do in the game is complete your decks, which a lot of the end of it, you could just transfer over older mons from older games that you kind of want to free up box space anyway for. So I don't know. It's a mixed bag. Like, it's good, and the DLC made the base game better. I had some fun with the DLC. The story was pretty decent towards the second half of the DLC, but it still kind of misses the mark because there's performance issues, and then the post-game activities are not as great as they could have been. I would have liked to have seen Battle Tower or Battle Facility back, and we kind of have it, and we kind of don't. And that's very unfortunate, because it does kill replayability for me personally once I finish the decks, because then I'm more inclined to go back to playing Sword and Shield, where I could do infinite battle tower runs and see how far I can get with certain teams and play, like, theme teams against, like, meta teams and stuff. So only time will tell. But moving on, the epilogue of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet did in fact come out, and I think we're gonna go here a second so I can show you the trailer, and then I'll give you, like, my personal thoughts on that. So let's click it, and away we go. We're gonna show you here. I have this muted. My apologies, Wolfies. Give me 1 second. Let's go. So this is the trailer for it. So this is a mythical Pechaberry. You can make the jokes if you want to. Get your mind out of the gutters, Wolfies. Interesting. It's a special gift. I like the way they set up the trailer. So you have to get this via mystery gift, because I was actually confused by this too. Ooh, that was kind of creepy. So I'm gonna pause it here. Oh wait, there's more to it. Let me not pause it there. Let's let it play out just in case there's something like that. Okay. Now, back up here a little bit, so we can talk about this while I have something up. Game, or not the game. Let's put it over here. All right. So, as I mentioned, this is the epilogue. Now, when they originally announced the epilogue for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I was assuming this was going to be a brand new update, Wolfies. I assumed this was going to be, like, a new update that maybe gave us a chance to get not just the epilogue storyline, but as well as maybe a new type of features that weren't featured in the game. Well, I finished the epilogue as well before I started recording for this, right? And I gotta give it to you straight, this whole epilogue was completely unnecessary. So, I'm not gonna spoil it for people who haven't gotten it there yet, but you basically get this mystery gift item, you take it back to, as it says there, Mosu Town, and it activates the epilogue where, the only thing I will say, because this was revealed in the trailer, is you're reunited with Momoa, Arvin, and Penny from the original base game. They call you back to your hometown, and you all are hanging out. And then from there, Kieran has sent you a letter, that character obviously from the Hidden Treasure of Area Zero DLC, and wants you to visit him in his town, Mosu Town, Kitakami Land, right? So you go there, and here's the one thing about the story. He invites you, as well as your friends, with tickets there. So you go with Momoa, Arvin, and Penny, and you go on this brand new adventure where there's a mystery going on, and people are kind of being taken under spell by a mythical Pokemon. And like in those storylines, you deal with the mythical Pokemon, and you catch the mythical Pokemon, and the story ends. You get about an hour new worth of content for this epilogue. And you get to catch a new mythical Pokemon, which I think is supposed to be like the Celebi of this generation. I don't want to spoil what the Pokemon is, because maybe some people didn't get to it yet, but it's a Pokemon that was revealed if you're like always up to date with like Celebi. It's interesting typing. Same typing as a Gengar. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. I don't want to spoil things really for you. People who might have not got there, they're just playing for the game. The epilogue is about an hour long. It's mostly cutscenes, and it's very few battles that you do. The battles that you do are, you know, they're double battles, because remember, you're in Kitakami land. And there's some special battles that you do that are throwback to the base game. That's as much as I'm going to say there. So the storyline gets resolved, and I don't want to spoil anything. It's resolved in a way where it's like, okay, this is the end of the game. And you're just kind of left there like, but I thought, like, when they were going to do this epilogue, because I'm trying to talk about this without spoiling it for anybody who hasn't played it. Like, when I think of epilogues in other video games that have tied up all loose ends of a storyline. And when it comes to this epilogue for the Hidden Treasure Area Zero, it concludes the Hidden Treasure of Area Zero's storyline, but it doesn't truly conclude the base game storyline that had a lot of plot holes left. Like, for example, because this isn't necessarily spoiler, and if it is, close your ears for about 30 seconds. One of the biggest gripes I have is Arvin's character, because you're reunited with Arvin, and he still doesn't know that his mom is dead, per se. He kind of knows, but he kind of doesn't. And in the special cutscene that you do in Hidden Treasure Area Zero, you meet his mom through a time warp, and she gives you the Scarlet book. So I was kind of confused with this epilogue, because it was the perfect opportunity for your character to give Arvin the Scarlet book, so that either he could follow in his mom's footsteps and become a researcher of some sort, or at least for him to have closure because he'll have something of his mom. I figured because this was an epilogue, and because they pushed that Scarlet book, that was going to be something that they were going to do with this epilogue. And they didn't do it. So Arvin's whole storyline and trying to come fully to terms with the fact that his mom is gone, or if you were playing the Violet game where it's his dad is gone, it's not truly resolved. There's not that true resolved closure as to what really is going to happen to him. You know, it kind of was in the base game, but I felt like, why give us the Scarlet book or the Violet book, depending on which game you played, if Arvin is, yeah, like, his storyline's not going to be truly finished. And what's the point of having the book besides for the special title screen that you get that says, hey, you finished everything? So that was kind of a missed plot point. We never got to meet Penny's parents, and that was kind of pushed that they were kind of a very important part of the storyline. I was pretty bothered by that. We never truly get a resolution to the base game school storyline. Because remember, in the school, your assignment for that year in school was to find what the treasure was most important to you, what the most important treasure was to you. And that was your school assignment. And you kind of get glimpses of that in the game where, depending if, let's say you took the route to become the champion first, where that kind of was implied, maybe it was that, or maybe it was, you know, saving the members of Team Star and solving that, or helping Arvin with his thing, or catching the, you know, the true legendary Pokemon. But the thing about it is you do all these extra stories, including the DLC, and save Paldea region again when you catch that legendary and avoid catastrophe. And you never go back to school to talk to the professor or, you know, the principal, Clavel, and finally, like, graduate from the report. So I figured with the epilogue, we were actually going to graduate from the school. Like, you know, we complete the assignment. And the game never truly completes the assignment, which kind of leaves me feeling a certain way about the game, because the game storyline is never truly finished and it's left incredibly open-ended. Which would be fine if, like, we're getting future extra epilogues to add to the game, but that doesn't seem to be the case, because I'm pretty sure with how ill-received Pokemon Scarlet and Violet were, that we're not going to get this. We're never going to get that true closure in this game, so it just kind of left unfinished in terms of story, and there's a lot of plot holes. And then on top of that, we're never going to get that battle facility to kind of really truly pat out that, like, single-player end game experience. So it leaves me overall just kind of feeling meh about the whole thing. I am somebody, and this might date me a little bit, but I kind of don't care, Wolfies, because, you know, I've always been very open and honest and transparent. I've been somebody that's been playing Pokemon games since the very, very early days of Pokemon. So I've been there since the red, blue, and yellow days. I have played every Pokemon game. The only game I skipped was Platinum, and then I eventually played it when they did the remake of it. And the only game after Platinum that I skipped was Legends Arceus, as well as Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, because I just didn't like what they added in terms of expansion. And Legends Arceus was just a game that I couldn't buy at the time, and by the time I would have bought it, there was already other games that had come out. But I played them all, and I would say that of these gens, this is probably still one of my least favorite gens. And for a lot of reasons. Obviously, the game is poorly optimized. I talked about this previously, and they never really did anything to fix it. And it runs horrible in terms of frame rate, and graphically, it's probably one of the worst looking Pokemon games out there. It just is kind of a mess all around. Then I gave the DLC a chance, and it does add more to kind of make the game fun in parts, but it runs into the same issue that happens once you complete your decks from the base game. There's no real incentive to play single player wise anymore, because you completed your decks, and there's no battle tower facility, and the battles that they do give you that you can constantly keep rebattling trainers with is just not up to snuff too. It's not great. It gets stale, and you're going to know those teams and what they use easily, and then it's like, well, why am I going to battle these things? Because I'm just going to curb stomp on them all the time. So I would say, even with the DLC and the base game, everything combined, because I paid, what, $65 for the base game when I bought it over a year ago, and then with the DLC I paid $38, so I paid close to almost $100 for the true full experience of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And at best, I'd say it's a mid-Pokemon game that has a lot of great ideas, that's ruined by poor optimization, bad-looking graphics, a story that's kind of half-baked, and then on top of a story being half-baked, endgame that really just kind of pushes you to only playing the online battles system, which is fine if you like online battles, but if you just want a offline single-player experience, it pretty much drops the ball. I mean, it's improved the single-player online experience, or single-player offline experience, excuse me, of the base game, but it hasn't really done anything to improve, you know, the core, or not the core, but the longevity of the game for people who maybe just don't want to do online battles. And it's a shame. So I would say overall, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, a while back, I gave it kind of like a 6 out of 10. With the DLC, I probably would still keep it out of probably like a 7 out of 10 instead of a 6 out of 10. My biggest issues, again, is everything I listed. Just not really having single-player offline endgame that's truly good. And that'll make you want to keep revisiting a lackluster story and optimization issues. It's a great idea, and it's a great like blueprint, maybe, for a future Pokemon game, but honestly, I would prefer if they just kind of went back to doing it in the style of Sword and Shield. I didn't think anything was wrong with Sword and Shield. It was exactly the Pokemon formula that you know and love. It gave you the experience in a proper optimization way that worked for the game. Gigantamax mechanic was pretty fun over the Terrorized one. It had a Battle Tower facility, and overall, like max raid dens, you could keep going back for shiny hunting and stuff. And there's just a lot of fun things to do in Sword and Shield, even in terms of the DLC and the post game. And none of that stuff is really, in my personal opinion, existent in Scarlet and Violet. I mean, if you're a shiny hunter, you're probably going to prefer Scarlet and Violet in terms of just the open areas for shiny hunting and the sandwiches and stuff, but I mean, it just doesn't cut it. I mean, really, I would say probably more like 6.5 out of 10. So like bumped up by a 0.5 because it gave more, but it's like, it's a story, but it's not great, nor is it bad. It's just okay. And the game, like, is just ridden with so many optimization issues. So it's hard to like recommend it in good faith. It's basically a 6.5 borderline 7. The complete package, in my personal opinion. Yeah, I would, if you could get it, the base game like on sale where some stores selling it, and then you could get the DLC for the regular price. You don't spend more than like $40, $50. Maybe there's some fun to be had with this Wolfies, but overall, I was very underwhelmed overall, which is a shame because I'm really looking forward to playing Pokemon. And the reason I bought the game was because I want to get back into playing VGC tournaments, because I haven't really been playing them, because obviously you needed the Scarlet and Violet expansion to be able to take full use of that. So, there was that. Alright, Wolfies, so we have to talk about something else, but I want to cue it up here, because we've been talking about video games for quite a bit on this channel, right? So, believe it or not, the Puppet Master, the game update, finally came out. The demonic toys are now finally live in the game. Now, when I did my initial video of Puppet Master, the game is dead, I received quite a lot of criticism from the Puppet Master community, as well as the developers, because I felt like they were prioritizing certain things over trying to improve their game. And as it's been well documented, it took them a month longer than promised to put out the Demonic Toys update, which is very similar to kind of what, not exactly, but when the Totem update was supposed to come out, it was delayed as well. But with the Demonic Toys, they announced it for December, and it was the second week of January, and it came out. But it came out, right? So, I have been, where is it? It should be queued up here. Where did my window capture just disappear? Oh, okay. 1 second, Wolfies. It's gonna come up here. Let's see. Do you see that? Okay, good. You do. Alright, so that's working. Alright, so let's just take a look at some stuff here. And I will probably play a little bit of the game because I want to kind of give my live thoughts on a lot of things. So, let's start with the announcement. And let's see if I can go down here correctly. So, Puppet Master let's start that again. Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys new faction. So, the Demonic Toys are the new faction. There's a perk event going on and a new game mode. So, it's the Demonic Toys. So, this is the message from the developers. Hi everyone, sorry for the long wait. The Demonic Toys needed some time to cook, and we did not let that extra time go to waste. This is the largest update that the game has received to date, and we are immensely proud of what we have achieved with this update. Now, before I go further, every developer always, when they put out an update and they make the announcement of the update, always says that it's the biggest update to date And it's usually more fluff than it is truthfully honesty. When it comes to this game, it's more fluff than it is really honesty. It's about the same amount of content that was introduced in the in the Totem update. Pretty much the exact same amount of content. But, you know, developers like to put a spin on things because they need to make it sound like they've added. It's about the same amount that they normally have added per game updates is what I'm getting at. Okay, so bringing demonic toys into Puppet Master the game was one of our biggest dreams when the game first started, all the way back in 2012 as a fan project. Now that we finally brought these two Full Moon franchises together officially for the first time to duke it out. Watching the Full Moon Zone video zone back in the mid-90s, most of my viewers probably don't even know what that is, but at the end of videotapes for Puppet Master movies, Demonic Toys, there's a Charles Band video series that he did where he talked about stuff he wanted to do with the Full Moon Features films. So hearing Charles Band talk about the idea of Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys got so hyped that it had to be part of the game. We are very honored to help make that happen in video game form. I hope all of you enjoy our hard work and attention to detail that comes with this update. I have some thoughts about the attention to detail, but I'll get to that when we actually open the game. There is much more to come. Our focus moving forward will be to create new maps, human characters, and quality of life changes, like full controller support and optimization improvements so we can finally leave early access. Thank you all so much for your patient support. We will be posting news about what to expect in the content update next week, so stay tuned. All right. I butted heads with October games quite a lot over the last couple of weeks, because I felt like if you make an announcement about putting something out in December, you should follow that up. And if you run into an issue, you should announce it very early in December, as opposed to letting a whole month go by practically before you say, hey, it's going to be delayed by like a month and 2 weeks. But, you know what? We'll give them that one, and we butted heads. I think some of my message might have gotten through to the developers, because I said, I feel like it's too soon to try to be selling people on cosmetics in the game and DLC packs, when the major focus should be trying to improve the base version of the game and what's currently there, so that you could bring in more players. So, them fixing controller support because it's terrible, yeah, I think that's important. Optimization improvements so that the game runs properly, looks better. Yeah, I think that's very important too. And then quality of life changes. Yeah, because there's certain things that puppets work better. And then I've always said there's a shotgun stun lock thing that probably needs to be addressed with this game, because there's some very cheap human tactics you can use. And adding new maps to the game and more human characters, adding new things to the game is very, very important. Because I have no problem with them trying to make $1. What I took a problem with is that there's so many issues with the base game and a very low player count, and you're asking for money on cosmetics when there should be more focus on making the base game worth wanting to come back, making a base game where you can actually use the cosmetics that you buy in all the modes usable is like the major focus. You want, for an online multiplayer game, people to be playing it online. And to be honest with you, as I've always said, because tell me when I'm telling lies, the biggest problem with Puppet Master of the game has been a very lackluster player base, because this is a very niche game. If you ask most regular gamers who maybe are casual fans of horror, but not hardcore horror fans, do you know who the Puppet Master franchise is? They're probably going to tell you a different type of game. And they probably don't even know. If you ask them who the demonic toys are, they're probably not going to know unless you're a hardcore horror fan. So you already have the hurdle of trying to get people who aren't familiar with these franchises to play this game. And that's a tough sell of just being like, hey, this game's out, you should play it. Oh, by the way, there's a whole bunch of DLC that we're trying to sell you, but you can't really play modes. That's where I took problem with it, because you have to improve your actual core game and make people want to play this game online, and if not, give an alternative to be able to play these modes offline, to then give people a reason to buy DLC. I bought DLC for this game. Contrary to popular belief, I have bought DLC for Puppet Master the game, because I did believe in it in the very beginning. I've been following it for a very long time. But after 1 or 2 DLCs, when you start seeing less content of the base game, not having maps, not having new factions, things not coming on time, Do you really want to keep investing money into something that looks like it's not going to be around, and the only way you're going to be able to play something is in 2-launch journals? No. I needed to give these developers a kick in the pants and a wake-up call that some of the things they're doing and some of the ways that they're going in terms of their game trending was not the right way to get people or to restore faith in people who play this game to start playing the game again. Hopefully, this part here that they're saying, they live up to it, and this is the focus. And then after you leave early access, and then start selling cosmetics again. When you get this part fixed, and there's more of a player base, then start trying to get your bag with some of these DLCs. Until then, I feel like this is your major priority. Everything else shouldn't be. That's my 2 cents with that. So moving forward with this, let's take a look at what the new faction is, and I will show you them all. I'm not going to read this because it's just kind of, we can just show you it, right? So I am going to actually fire up, believe it or not, Puppet Master the game, and I will show you this in like Ulan's journals here. So it's gonna, game's going to come up in a second. I do have it on my main computer hard drive so it can run a bit quicker, so it will run faster, I believe, at this point. So then I will give you a little bit of thoughts in regards to that, I hope. I don't know. Looks like this hotfix. Is the game loading quicker now? Okay, the game is definitely loading much quicker than it used to. Wolfies. Because as some of you know, it used to take forever for this game to load, like if you were playing it off of an external SD hard drive. So, let's take a look at this, right? I'm even going to plug in my controller in a minute. So, we had the new faction, the demonic toys. So you have Baby Oopsie, Grizzly Teddy, Mr. Static, Zombie Toad, Shack Attack, and Monster Teddy. I was a little bit confused about this being the Dominator. We'll talk a little bit more about why. These two are almost basically the same character, just him in a different form. Alright, so we got Baby Oopsie. Baby Oopsie looks very, very close to his Doll Man versus Demonic Toys skin. I think it's kind of cool. He has various different weapons. So he has his you-know-what knife, because I'm going to say so I can't talk about that. He has the Master's Medallion, where he basically has a passive where he can not only reveal Neonbar Prey, but he can heal the other toys. So he's kind of a damager and a healer as well, which I think is kind of cool. He has a Miss Me, which basically it allows you to kind of like dodge and become invulnerable to Ragdoll for a while, which I think is cool. And his last attack is his gun, where you shoot the gun, it shoots one shot, it causes damage and causes the human or enemy to get a knockback. I think they did a very good job with Baby Oopsie. As for his skins, you have regular Baby Oopsie, you have Burned Baby Oopsie, which is his Demonic Toys 2 type of skin, sort of, even though he was kind of stitched up in that one, if I remember correctly as well. You have the Baby Oopsie with blood, because every skin has like the blood version. And then this one, which is interesting because this is just basically outfit from the Dollman poster, but they never actually used this outfit in the movie. They went with this outfit instead. The voice of Baby Oopsie, pretty cool. Pretty cool. They did a pretty good job of imitating his voice from it. From, I would say, Dollman versus Demonic Toys, because Baby Oopsie is more female in the other movies that it's featured in. The knives, it's basically the same that you normally would find. The medallion, you can't upgrade, right? Okay, let's move on. So, next character, Grizzly Teddy. Grizzly Teddy is actually deceptively strong. I thought he was weak at first, and then I had more playtime with him. I thought he was pretty good. So Grizzly Teddy is a bloodthirsty demon-infested plush, a cuddle teddy bear turned man-eater, someone inside the toys. Okay. So he has claws and teeth, so scratch and bite your prey by using your primary and secondary attacks to deal minor damage. Each attack with Teddy gives you a moderate amount of health. And there are perks that you could use to modify the damage he does, as well as get a little bit more health back. Second one, Toy Bat. You basically use a bat, you swing it, to do moderate damage, it causes a stun that slows down the prey for a brief moment. Pretty good when you're fighting like puppets, kind of decent when you're fighting cubans. Last one, Bear Trap. This is really cool. Even though I never used this in a movie to my knowledge, Bear Trap, hold the ability button to deploy a bear trap. Upon trigger, your prey is rooted for 1.75 seconds and takes 15 damage. Basically, you freeze them in place and it takes damage for a set amount of time. Well, he takes damage, but the set amount of time that he's stuck in place 1.75 seconds. Pretty good, because if you're a bunch of demonic toys bunched up, you can basically take out the prey of the human quickly. He is very good. I would argue Grizzly Teddy might be S tier at the moment. He's deceptively good. As for skins, Bloody, which I think honestly Bloody looks better than his base form, just because he likes to bite people anyway. He looks kind of bloody mostly in the movies. Nightmare, this is like a unique skin. It's very expensive. I don't know how I feel about it. It kind of looks cool, but the Grizzly Teddy has never looked like this in any of the movies. I prefer having skins that actually kind of fit one of the movies he's been featured in. I feel like that way for everything in regards to Puppet Master of the game. Alright, moving on. We have Mr. Static. Now, fun fact, Mr. Static with his blasters kind of was too much. So much so that I actually talked to the devs in their Discord forum and mentioned that the flashing lights was a bit much. It kind of made you feel a little bit sick, and if you are prone to epilepsy, you probably would get seizures from it. They graciously did listen to my feedback here, and they toned it down, so now when you use them, you won't get headaches, and people who are prone to epilepsy won't hopefully get a seizure, which I think is great. Because the first day, he was a headache and a nightmare to use, because, like, I literally felt sick. I'm not prone to epilepsy, but too many flashing lights, I was just getting a headache trying to use them. So Mr. Static is a menacing robot with powerful blasters for arms. You won't want to find yourself in the path of his cold stare. Are we having fun yet? He has 3 weapons. Blaster shoots out a burst of 5 lasers black, each capable of dealing 5 damage. So here's the thing that really made you feel sick with this before. Every time he shot one of those blasts, there'd be a flashing light. And he shoots 5 of these in concession. So it's 5 flashing lights going off and off and off again, which is just too much. They toned it down so you don't have to worry about that. His second thing is static boost, so you press the ability button to increase Mr. Static's forward movement speed for 10 seconds. Because he can't dash. So this makes you go fast on his treads. His last one is static missile. So you shoot a missile that causes significant knockback and reveals any within its blast radius for 10 seconds. Great for when you're playing multiplayer, not as useful when you're playing single player. I'm not going to show you too many of the skins here. Bloody Mr. Static. Then you have Burned Mr. Static, which he never actually existed to my knowledge in any of the movies or lore, so I guess they're kind of playing a pun on if he had been featured in Demonic Toys 2. Chrome version, which looks very similar to Static, but I think kind of has some purposes. I don't remember him looking like this in any of the movies. He's usually always look like that. And Gold Mr. Static, because I guess it just kind of looks cool. I like Burned Mr. Static. It's kind of a nice what if. Overall, the rest of them, I mean, Mr. Static's never really been changed based on the base design in any of the movies. He's only been featured in 2 movies on top of that for Demonic Toys. Zombie Toy only ever featured in 1 movie. He is in Dollman vs. Demonic Toys. So, a demonic soldier action figure loyal to the master in the Demonic Toys. Your bullets are, you know what? It takes magic to fight magic. So, his weapon, he has a machete, close range melee weapon, dealing moderate damage with a lunging charge attack that damages foes in its path. I like his melee, his lunge. I didn't personally find them that amazing. His second weapon is a battle rifle. So it's a semi-automatic toy rifle equipped with a long-range, accurate laser sight, delivered moderate damage with each shot to the prey. Laser sight's kind of cool. He never had this actually in the movies because he only really was in 1 movie and used the machete. So they took some creative liberties there, but it kind of makes sense because he's supposed to be a knockoff G.I. Joe soldier anyway. Next up, we have Battle Roll, which is his ability. You press the ability button to perform a battle roll, avoiding attacks for 1.5 seconds, with 0.5 seconds of ragdoll avoidance. He's pretty cool. Obviously, as you can see, he suffers from health, but he's very strong. He could be stealthy, which is kind of more important when you're dealing with humans. He's pretty fast. He's a glass cannon, though, for all intents and purposes. Pretty cool. Again, For his skins, he was only featured in one movie, so what can you really do with him, right? So what they did was the Blade version. Everything has a bloody version in this game. That's just kind of like an extra skin that they give to every character. I mean, it's nice to have. I feel like the blood effects should look a little bit better on all the models, but that's just me. Maybe you like it like that. I don't know. I preferred the blood not to look that way and look a little bit more believable. Then from there, we have Dogface, which I believe this is just supposed to be a parody of a movie called Small Soldiers with Chip Hazard. I'm fine with that. It's kind of a funny little throwback reference to that. I mean, considering he was only featured in one movie, don't have a lot to work with anyway. Yeah, why not, right? It's a running joke in their Discord, if I remember correctly. Alright. Moving on from there, we have good old Jack Attack, who just had a standalone movie, which was... it was a movie to say, really. So, Jack Attack is a demonic toy, jack-in-the-box with a flesh-eating grin. Beware the twisted jingle or face a nightmarish demise. Jesus Christ, they tore him apart. Got a lot of health. He's got a lot of agility when he's not in the box. Speed-wise, Strength, somewhere in the middle. Stealth. He's basically the equivalent of Pinhead and the equivalent of... Who was the tanky character for the totems? I would say it would have to be Totem Warrior. He's basically the equivalent of those two for the demonic toy. He has 4 different things. So he has out of the box. Slow your prey down by continuously biting them. Each hit does minor damage and stun. Then there is in the box, Jack hides to charge a powerful attack. Deals critical damage to ragdolling enemies. Ideal for ambushes, but slows them significantly. Yeah, you'd have to kind of be waiting just somewhere, waiting camped out, and if they walk by or near you, you kind of pop out of the Jack in the box. Trying to run around with the box itself to get a position to use its attack is very difficult, and I find that it's hard in many situations kind of pull off this ambush effectively, but that's just me. I feel like this kind of needs to be reworked still, even though they buffed the speed of the box. It just feels not practical in most game situations and various different modes. Psychotic is his passive. Demonic energy empowers Jack, shielding him from being knocked out by pushes and kicks, which is kind of cool, because he's kind of like Pinhead in that retrospect, as well as King Sutek in a way. Alright, or King Totem as he's called. Next up, we have Sliver. Press the ability free button to lie on your belly and sliver at a alarming speed, ideal for setting up your next ambush or scouting. This is good because it makes up for the box thing, so you sliver like a snake only when you're out of box, and you move quick so you can get some pretty good positioning all around. As for his skins, this is where I'm very confused. So he does have a Demonic Toys 2 type of look to him, and yet it's not in here, which leads me to believe perhaps maybe it's going to be part of paid DLC. But I would have preferred to have his Demonic 2 counterpart, similar to Baby Oopsie, instead of this Creative Liberty Blackjack skin that we have here instead. I would have even preferred that we had the Demonic Toys 2 Jack Attack version over this, which is just how he looks, which is basically a hair change and an eye change in the Dollman versus Demonic Toys poster. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm hoping this is not a case of we're going to sub this as paid DLC. I'm thinking that might be the case, but I feel like if you started, and I'll go back here before we get to him, if you started by introducing Baby Oopsie's burn version, which is featured in Demonic Toys 2, as well as I believe it was featured in the Baby Oopsies movies, why not feature burn Demonic Toy 2 version Jack Attack? I feel like if you did it for Baby Oopsie, there's no reason why Jack Attack, who's a major part of Demonic Toys 2, that he doesn't have a skin equivalent to that. It's baffling. Maybe they didn't have enough time to do it. I'm confused, but a very iffy skin. So that brings us to the Dominator, which is weird. It is Monster Teddy. So Monster Teddy is the ultimate demonic toy, instills terror with door shredding sounds. Every creak and crack has the power to destroy doors. So, claws and teeth, scratch and bite your prey by using your primary and secondary attacks to deal minor damage. Each attack will give Teddy a moderate amount of health. Then we have Feral Fury, drastically increase Were Teddy's forward movement speed by 5 seconds. I think they were supposed to call this Were Teddy, and they kind of made a mistake and just went with Monster Teddy. But yeah, these names, this is typographical error. Bear Barrage, unleash a powerful melee attack that swiftly overcomes anything in your way. Use this, I guess, on the doors, which I did try out. Matted Fur, it's his passive. Monster Teddy's fur coat shields him from pushes, kicks, and throwable weapons. It's great. Now, as you notice, Monster Teddy is human size. He actually is human size, so he can't burst through doors. And in order to get through the totem doors in Toulon's journal, he has to use his power to break it down with the 2 hands and then kind of claw. I didn't know that because I didn't read the description, to be honest with you. I pointed it out. I thought maybe you could get soft locked on the forums. They pointed out to me that use this power to destroy doors, and then you can go through Toulon's journal that way. There's also why in Toulon's journal they move certain Raven statues about. Honestly, I thought the Dominator was going to be Devo Leto, because Devo Leto resurrects the demonic toys of Jack Attack and Baby Oopsie, and kind of has some Necromancer type like powers. And I thought he was going to be the healer class, but instead Baby Oopsie is, so they decided to go full-on Demonic Toys 1 reference. It feels a little bit out of place in this game, because when you get into fights with puppets and totems in particular, trying to aim a claw and teeth attack at something that's, you know, 3 inches high and moves around a lot kind of gets annoying for accuracy, particularly in the new mode. Against humans, you kind of curb stomp the humans super quickly, which I don't know if he could stay that powerful for that long. Obviously, in online matches, you could put so that Dominators don't come out to the very, very end after a certain amount of time. So there's some balancing with that, along with cooldown. But I don't know, Chief. I get why they did it, because they wanted to go full-on Demonic Toys 1 with the reference, but he makes for some very awkward moments in certain when he's going against puppets, because he never fought the puppets in any of the movies. So it's, and we already have regular Teddy. Why couldn't this be Teddy's ultimate attack per se? I don't know how I feel about this. I've played some with him, and I felt a little bit, how do I put it, kind of mixed on it. But I'm going to show you some of the other things. So it's nice to have them in the game. With the game, I'm just going to put US East Coast here for a second. I'm not actually going to host the game, but I wanted to show you the new mode. So, Beef mode is the basic mode where you can play with a bot human, right? Manhunt was introduced in the Totem update, where basically it's like Capture the Flag and Waste, where it's 2 humans versus 4 puppets. I guess now you can play Demonic Toys in this mode as well, and it's Capture the Flag. The biggest problem with this is you cannot play with bots in this mode. So unless you can get 6 people to play this mode, you can never really play it online unless you can find 6 people to play with, which, as I've mentioned before, is quite difficult to do. Now the new mode is Puppet Master, which 4 versus 4. So Sutak has blocked escape with Ancient Curse. A team of 3 puppets must defend the master. 1 human player must lift the curse while being protected by the 3 puppet players from the team of 4 attacking puppets. This wasn't the new mode. This was the mode that was also in the Totem update, correction. The new mode is Puppet War, so it's a 4 versus 4. So this is a puppet-only game mode. 2 factions wage war to see which is the deadliest of the Tiny Terrors. The team that receives 50 XP first wins. So this is MVP mechanic. I don't even know what it means. Does it even explain it here? No. So I guess MVP means the amount of kills that you get, you become the MVP. So you can have that on or off. You can play with a human bot. You can have the Dominator on and off. As you can see, with this mode, you're gonna need 8 people, which is a virtual order for a game that's per place is not the best. So let's see. How many people are online? Just out of curiosity. Well, there's more. There's full lobbies. This is a positive sign. 4-4, 4-4, 4-4, or 8-8. 8-8. This one's always, I don't count this person's always doing it. So let's see, like, actual people who I've never heard of here. 4-4, but they're playing FIFA mode. 4-4, they're playing FIFA mode. 8-8 bots. So, can you fill a full lobby of bots? I wonder. Let's see, let's put this to the test. Can I want to lock this for a second. Okay. Let's put that as a lobby. I want to test something in theory here. Can I just start a match with a bot? Can I, like, do that? Is it going to be 1v1? That's what I want to know. Or is it going to populate this with 4 free puppet bots and free puppet bots? I want to know. I want to know. What's it going to do? Is it just going to be 1 human and 1... Let's see. I'm curious. Let's just put this to fair crafting a minute, Wolfies. So, am I just gonna have the human out? To me, it looks like it's going to be just a human and no demonic toys, right? I don't see any demonic toys, Wolfies, coming to attack me. So you can play this mode as if it was like FIFA mode. What's the point then? Let me see. I don't hear... Oh, there's a human. I've yet to see any toys whatsoever come to my aid. And this looks like this is the regular bot that normally you see when you're playing like 2-launch journals. So they've kind of tweaked the bot so he's not as like OP at trying to keep the game going too long, right? Alright. Let's see here. Triple combo, he's dead. So I have not been attacked by a demonic toy at all here. So, you can start the match as a 1v1 and have drop off. But, let me see here. No, it's just against the human bot and there's no demonic toys, so why would I want to do that? I mean, it's great that you can start the game and wait for people to jump into the lobby, but then what's the point? And then if you're in a situation where, again, there's some lobbies in the East Coast, but they're full, right? Where there's one spot here, but it's not the mode I want. I want the mode where I can play Puppet Wars, right? I run into issue of either I gotta host that and play a 1v1 situation with a human bot, or case in here, when you go to look in our servers, there's nobody playing in the West Coast because the majority of the players only play in the East Coast. So, we have the issue still of there's like 17 people playing the game, and you can't play any other modes truly offline where, let's say I could go, you know, my 1 puppet versus the 4 demonic toys and like 3 or AI puppets. Like, that seems like the next logical progression for the game. So then what do we do in this case, Wolfies? Well, what's the only mode where I can like try out my cosmetics then if, let's say, I can't get a lobby online to play this game? Like, I want to play a demonic toys match. My only option is I have to go into 2-launch journal and do the single player mode. And now I'm going to show you something. The single player mode, when you don't know what you're doing, yeah, you can get a lot of hours out of this. But let's say you're a seasoned veteran at 2-launch journals like I am, right? I know where all the locations of these things are, even when they changed them. And I also know pretty much what my perks are going to be when I'm using a demonic toy, because I kind of know already what meta I'm going to use based on the perks. Now, I'll say with the perks, like, there aren't that many perks to work with, which I understand because they're trying to rush this update out, because they didn't want more criticism, which it's fine because, hey, they got it out, but, like, case in point, look how I just knocked them back, and this is the AI bot, right? So he's going to try to ragdoll me, which is fine. I know he's going to ragdoll me, right? So then he's going to turn around.
Here I come.
He's going to not really put up much of an effort. Let me get this. Let's swing this way. I can execute him. Now, this is not going to be the faint of heart for everyone, but this is his execution. Alright. So he has the big gun, right? He vomits cool. That's very similar to what Baby Oopsie would do in the movies. But then, okay. So again, I'm a seasoned veteran. I can speedrun this mode, as you're seeing, in progress, even with the new toy content. So, I'm going to go here. They changed this. This used to be under the bed, but because of Monster Teddy can't run under the bed, they had to change certain Raven statue placement. So, where's the next Raven statue for the first floor? Well, that's easy, Wolfies. It's going to be right here. We're going to open this door up, right? If I have the gun, I could shoot, but I don't want to waste a bullet, because I want to save that for when we go in. We got to fight the totem, right? So we're going to go in and fight here. We're going to cut through the vent, get the health item. We're not really going to need the health serum too much. It's going to be the not very say-so toy. Alright. I'll just swing once. Break the pyramid. There's one more Raven statue on this map. And I could use this just to get a little bit of a speed boost. Even though that's not what it's intended for. It's mostly supposed to be for, like, evasion and to prevent being ragdoll. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to cut. I've finished the stage, basically. So then, I'm just going to run back here, right? So you can't go this way. You got to run this way. I'm just using that for mobility because it's got a very fast cooldown, which is good. Because we could just get a little bit more. And I just use it to kind of, for speed's sake. So then you're going to run all the way back here, right? And I don't know if any of my Wolfies were timing me, but I essentially just speed ran to Launch Journal. So let's say you're me. And in that situation, you don't want to play Thief mode. All the lobbies that are available, which isn't a whole bunch of them to begin with, are filled with the Puppet Wars mode. What do? The only option for me to actually play this game is this mode, which I've done to death, which I kid you not. I'll do Rick's because it's another good map. I can speedrun these with my eyes closed. That's the biggest problem right now with Puppet Mastery the game. There's not a lot of players. You don't have access to all the modes off of line. We don't have, which is the most important progression for this game, just to kind of get it on a good footing where it can be, you know, bring players in. We need puppets, toys, totem bots to be able to do Puppet War with bots and then have like drop in and drop out, because I'm going to show you this again, Wolfies. Mr. Static is probably the best demonic toy to speedrun certain content with now too. He's not the fastest, but he is very strong with the beam. So I'm playing on controller too, by the way, which is not the best optimal support. Okay. And they changed it. As you can see with the flashing lights, if they kept it the way where it was like a really big flash, you would have potentially had seizures, right? So, and keep in mind, my criticisms are not to be mean. They're like legitimate constructive criticism as to what the October Games necessarily needs to do to be able to turn this game around. Because yeah, you need to up the player count, but before you up the player count, you have to be able to give people a reason to actually be able to play the game, to be able to buy the content. Okay, so we got rid of him. He's done. So we'll go through here. You still gotta take the human out. Keep that in mind. Human should be... Check this door. I don't think it's this one. I think it's around the corner. But it's around the corner. This door here is potentially going to be the next Raven statue, if I remember correctly. Surprised we haven't found the human. Is he behind the door? That would explain a lot, right? Okay. Nope, not this door. So, where was it again? There's one in there, but I'm going to wait on that. I haven't found the human yet. That door over there could potentially mean he's there. Right. I'm not going to use the ability just yet. We're going to shoot here, right? Okay, cool. So, let me charge this up. Nobody around, huh? Okay. In that case, we're gonna go for the double doors. Is he here? No. Okay, so behind here, all the way on the opposite end is gonna be the next Raven statue, right? So we're gonna time it just right. Let's shoot. Okay, good. That's the last Raven statue, or one of the last ones. The next one's going to be hidden in a barrel-like area. I'm very surprised we haven't run into the human just yet. Oh, speak of the devil. This character is so freaking good. Like, I'd have to say, of the demonic toys right now, Mr. Static is definitely my favorite. I mean, I'm a big Baby Uzi fan, but Mr. Static just has a very satisfying gameplay loop that's really, truly unique for this game, because you don't have something that really plays to this type of play style. Alright. So he was over here. We have to go back to Rick's lab. I'm not mistaken. Rick's lab is over that way, which means we have to go through this door and around to get the last Raven statue, and then we'll pretty much have completed, which I want to go through here, the map. This is not going to be the easiest thing to do here, Wolfies. Don't mind. It's in this basket up here. Let's keep going. He's a little bit slow without the treadmill, but that's fine. We shoot there. We're gonna go back all the way over here. This isn't as fast of a speed run because Mr. Static, obviously, is not as mobile as some of the other demonic toys, but still pretty quickly you can do it with. So go back in here, and we ran that, right? And that is pretty much another 2-launch journal run. So again, this is just me citing things. You can do these once you've memorized them rather fast and rather efficiently, to the point where then you kind of can just run them and XP from, right? And then let's say you get bored with that mode because you've done that quite a lot. Well, here's again, Manhunt. I don't want to play that mode because I'm more interested in the brand new mode. You see the problem? Co-op. Thief mode, thief mode. This seems to be the more interesting mode for players. They prefer to play this mode as opposed to the new mode. And then there's some people who prefer to play 2 humans before. I'm in a situation where I don't want to play this. I don't want to play this. I don't want to play this. I'm going to make a lobby who's realistically going to join. This is where we have the problem of not enough players playing. There's 8 people playing here. There's 3 people playing here, that's 10. 1 person playing here, 1 person playing here, 12. Count me, that's 13. And all our things don't align with what we necessarily want to do. This is where, again, which is where this game needs to go, where in these different modes, such as Puppet Wars, we need more than just a human bot. We need to be able to have teams that are totem bots, toy bots, puppet bots, depending on the situation. So, what are my thoughts really with this update? Again, it's great to have a new faction. They all kind of look and play pretty good. I'm not going to go through all of them because this is more of a just chatting stream and a follow-up to my previous thoughts with the game being dead. This update has brought in a couple players. It hasn't brought in an amazing amount of players. I don't necessarily feel like this is going to truly improve the health of the game overall. Right now we have some new content and some stuff to unlock, and the lobbies are 2 more lobbies more than there normally is for this game. So it's like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. A new mode where it's going to be pretty hard to fill it because everybody's got different agendas, and without the use of player bots to be able to fill some of the necessities to truly get a game going, you're still stuck with the same problem of online, for all intents and purposes, being still quite dead. So let's see if truly they are going to do what they say they're going to do and follow that alleged promise that they have. And we're going to go back again to the Steam forum. And again, these are criticisms that are legitimate criticisms. This is not me coming at the developers with stuff that's not. This is me looking at the game through a critical lens and seeing a lot of, a lot of potential flaws here. So we got the update, we got a new mode, we got some cosmetics. They didn't try to sell us anything, which I think is nice for a change, because as you see, there's very few reasons to make those purchases unless you really, really enjoy Telon's journal. But let's hope that they keep the major promise of their announcement here. This is where it's going to make or break the future of Puppet Master. Right now, to bring in new players, we need new maps. We need new human characters. We need quality of life changes, which to me would be bots in every mode and the ability to play every mode, not only online, but offline as well. Full controller support, so we can actually use those emotes, is important, as it's mentioned here. Optimization improvements. Graphically, I feel like the game does need a little bit of a graphic overhaul to just make certain maps look not so washed out. And just that. If October games can kind of focus on this stuff and realize that this is the important thing and stick to the timelines that they promised, well, you can maybe turn this game around. Is the game still dead? In terms of content, no. In terms of online, yes. I'm sorry. I still got to look at it. 2 more lobbies to play with. 17 players still roughly that's playing the game. Means that the same 17 people who have been playing the game are still playing it. Has this update brought in new players? No. Will this change in a week when some people figure it out that this is out? Like with my video or other people's videos? Time will tell. We'll have to relook at the Steam charts. But I'm not going to say that this game isn't still on life support, because it is. This is one of those things where they're doing this to kind of breathe new life in and to make it on a product. It's nice to have it, but again, for a lot of people like me who don't always want to play in the online lobby because there's not the mode I necessarily want to play as there in that particular situation, it leaves me having to play Telon's Journal, which I've played to death. There's not like there's new Telon's Journal maps to play as. This is where a lot of things need to be addressed as to maybe making this game as playable as possible in offline as well. Because you have to think of the future of this game. If more players don't come into the game, and people are going to get bored with the demonic toys, because let's face it, this happens in asymmetrical games like Dead by Daylight. It happened in Friday the 13th because of the lawsuit. It happening right now in Texas Chainsaw with a stale metagame and, you know, overpriced like DLC. Your players will leave, the ones that are playing. And when those players leave, and then you have other players that can't get lobbies, your game is then dead. But if at least you do like in Friday the 13th case, when then eventually got delisted, where all the modes can be played offline, you can at least keep the game's legacy alive. And believe it or not, I know October Games doesn't want to hear this, but if you had all your modes available for offline play, there is a higher chance that you might actually be able to make more money off your DLC. And then people can actually use the stuff, and there's modes to play in, or if you can at least have the bots populating some of the stuff, maybe there's a chance. I'm not saying it's 100%, but online is still dead, and the game itself is still on life support, and I'm not going to be one of these people that changes my tune on that. There has been improvements. There's new content. There's new stuff to look at. Some of this content is fun. Some of the modes are fun. The new mode is a little bit chaotic. Grizzly Ted, or not Grizzly Ted, but Monster Teddy. It's kind of weird and awkward how he fights the puppets. Stuff like that probably needs to be addressed, but I'm not going to say that the game's not dead, because the game is right now, it moved a little bit up from being dead in terms of content updates to being on life support, but the online is still dead, and we'll see what happens. Will this change things? I don't think so. I think if they stick to what they're saying with the early access and add the things they need to, maybe it gets better. But I don't know. It's like one of my viewers said, this game feels like, and it's even said in developer notes, this game was a fan project all the way in 2012. We're in 2024 right now. This game is 12 years old, and it kind of feels like it in terms of graphics and how the game plays. And that might not be great in trying to lure in modern gamers with some of the stuff. Because, as we all know, Dead by Daylight's still the king of the mountain, and if you have a game that feels like it's from 12 years ago, most new players and modern gamers are just not going to bite on it. So we'll see what happens. I'm still going to say it's dead, but this could breathe new life into it, but more needs to be done. A lot more needs to be done before we get out of early access. For me to say, yeah, this game is not dead, I need to see more online people playing this. Because I can't in good faith say that the game's not dead when, I mean, the person playing 4 lobbies throughout the world, you know, it's 2 more lobbies than what you normally see with the game. But that's my thoughts, Wolfie, in regards to Puppet Master Demonic Toys. We'll see what happens. Maybe it'll change. And if it changes, good. You know, if it can turn around, great. I'd like to see it. Everything I do is constructive criticism. It's not necessarily a personal attack, but more needs to be done, and certain things need to be focused on. The true things to really get it. So where this game needs to be. Because there is fun to be had with it. Don't get me wrong, Wolfies. Anyway, that's my thoughts. I went a little bit longer on the Just Chatting because I really wanted to talk a lot about Pokemon, and I really wanted to talk a lot about Demonic Toys. I wanted to talk about the Godzilla trailer, but as I was looking for YouTube, they don't have a trailer that's not somebody else doing commentary for it. So I don't think that that's the greatest service to do for this. So anyway, Wolfies, and that's today's Morning Wolfies, a Just Chatting thing. It was more a gaming edition where I just thought about certain things. We had a fun week 3 before I wrap up. You know, we did get to play Stardew Valley, which was a cool, chilled game. We got to play Batman Arkham Asylum, which we had a lot of fun there. We also returned to Resident Evil and got much further in the game. So a lot of progress was made, despite the fact that we got killed by a shark at the end. And I got stuck a little bit in the end again, so it's going to be a process to try to figure it out. I do want to finish Resident Evil HD Remastered before the month is over, so I'm hopefully, by the time the next week rolls around and we get to play it again, hopefully we'll be a little bit further where we can figure out where we can go. And I'd like to wrap up the story in the next stream, hopefully, if not by the following one. And then from there, obviously, we also had our movie night where, ironically, I changed it to Demonic Toys because we did not have enough people to do the Super Dimensional Macross film. And plus, I couldn't find a streaming service, so... And the movie kind of fits into the theme of me talking about Demonic Toys. So, yeah, I did kind of change it for certain purposes because I wanted people who maybe weren't familiar with the movie or the franchise to be able to see the Puppet Master update. So, you know, hey, maybe then you see what I showed you now and you're interested in maybe checking out the game. It is a free-to-play game. And so, hey, I didn't necessarily not do October games a favor here. I kind of did, but I will always be honest with my reviews and opinions, regardless of how a developer feels about my opinions, because I am not in the camp of lying to gamers in regards to whether something is up to snuff or not. Because as a content creator, I have a responsibility to tell the truth and call it straight down the middle. When a developer does good, like when they addressed the Mr. Static thing there, I give them the roses. When they do bad, I'm going to call a developer out on them doing bad. When they hit it out of the park, I will hit it out. I will say they hit it out of the park. Look at Game Freak and the Pokemon Company in the beginning. I said they didn't hit it out of the park with that stuff too, and that's a AAA first-party Nintendo title. So everybody gets the fair same amount of treatment here at the Moonlight Brew when you're a game developer. Nobody gets any special treatment. I always like being fair with everything. All right, Wolfies. So next week, again, you'll see more Resident Evil. You'll see more Batman Arkham Asylum. We'll probably play Graveyard Keeper, which is basically a grim, dark version of Stardew Valley in a way where you guessed it, tend to graveyards and try to get reunited with your lost love. Then from there, there's a game that could be a toss-up next week, where it could be something like Monster Hunter. I've left it open. I will have my full schedule available on Sunday night at 7 p.m. like I always do, Wolfies. I hope you enjoyed week 3. Make sure you join the Discord if you haven't already joined the Discord. I will be back with more normal week next week, so keep that in mind, Wolfies. So we'll try to get everything that we need to do. I'll announce the movie night when we get closer to it. Keep an eye on the Discord. If you're not following me already on various social medias, at Category Jinro for Twitch, even though I don't use the Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, it's all the same handle. So it's very easy. We're all on all those platforms, same thing, same handle as it is here. If you're not already subscribed here to the channel, definitely make sure to do so and consider joining my wolf pack and becoming one of my wolfies. Furthermore, if you like what you saw here, click the like button and subscribe. Leave a comment, because those things go a very long way in helping with the algorithm, as well as just YouTube saying, hey, people actually like this. Show more of this type of content that he does to people. I know it all helps in the process. So, Wolfies, I'm going to close up for the afternoon because I do have to get ready to put on my best outfit for when we get ready to come back here to the Moonlight Brew on Monday. But as the saying goes, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I will see you Monday, and be on the lookout on Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern for the schedule. Have a great rest of your weekend, Wolfies, and I'll see ya Monday. Go out of the stage is also confusing as to